Right, well, here I am. I'm Sidus. I'm here with Malcolm. We'll introduce you to Malcolm in a moment. We'll move across the room. Malcolm is, well, where do you start? A musician, a writer, an author, uh, international ghost walker. Uh, you name it, he's done it. He's a very larger than life character, as you know, Chris, because as you've met him. I think you've even printed some of his books, I believe, did you, at one point?
We did, yeah. We did. That's how I got to know him, yeah.
Yeah, so you did that. So look, here I am, this poor guy here, I'm sat with two authors.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I'm the odd one out now, aren't I? That's the key. So we've got Malcolm here. Now, Malcolm, due to various medical issues, has been a little bit out of the limelight for a couple of years. We've had COVID, but prior to that, it's been out of the limelight. He's now getting together his walks again for Skipton. He's getting another book together, and I think you've got he's got something on the line which he'll tell you about called Strange But True as well, which is something that I think will be of interest to the people who look at these videos online. And he is a bit of a, to be honest with you, he's a bit of a legend to me. He's a guy I've always looked up to, and you more than anybody. I think you're carrying the torch now from where he was. See, you're the author. You're the guy with the big paranormal footing, etc., etc. So, Malcolm, tell us a little bit about what you want to tell us about. Tell us about you.
Well, me, I'm 71 years old, something like that, and I've done my own thing all my life. Now, just to explain, I've had a stroke recently, so I can't talk that well. As long as you can understand me, but I do a lot of gobbledygook, what's happened. But I've always been main interest in supernatural. I've wrote several books about local things, supernatural events around here. Skipton, book on Bingley, book on Keighley, and then I did my Malta books as well. You remember those, Chris?
Yeah.
Now, after this stroke, I'm getting better now. It's a long time, but in the new year, I'm starting to work on a new book called Strange But True. It's all about Skipton again, but it's not just supernaturally things. It's everything, really. People love mysteries. They love ghost stories, strange people, strange buildings. So I'm doing all that. And the reason I've got all that information is because I did my first book was on Skipton. So I had lots and lots of things I had to look into and research things. So I've still got it all here. Most of it's still locked in my mind, and it's starting to come back, coming out now. And so in the new year, I'm doing two projects to do with Strange But True. There's a company called Skipton Bid, and it's run by the shops of Skipton, all these people. And they want me to do these history walks, Strange But True walks, rather than normal history walks. Anybody can do that. But I love to do all this weird stuff, And they like the idea of having somebody that's a historian, but doing the weird stuff. So I thought I've been doing that, and then I thought, I should get a book going, because everybody knows me here, and I'm going to do 2,000 copies for the first edition. Sell them all, because they'll go very quickly. I have sold it. My books together have sold over 10,000 copies.
Wow.
It's
That's a lot of books, Malcolm.
And but this one, I know it'll be the best one. After getting through a stroke and everything, you get this supernatural strength. you know, really, and I'm desperate to get out there and get going with it all. So that'll be what I'm going to do. And the Strange But True, it'll happen next year, and then I'll be back in walking again, and you see me around, come on some of your investigations.
More than welcome.
Yeah.
Malcolm, didn't you have an experience after your stroke? Did you? I can't remember the message. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, certainly can. Yeah, because when I had the stroke, when they came and got me here, I was 10 minutes away from death. They pumped me full of drugs to stop it getting worse. If you hadn't got to me in that time, I would have been gone.
Right.
So they took me into hospital. I didn't know what the hell was going on at all. You can imagine. They put me with all sorts of things. And I found myself in this ward at Christmas time. I didn't know what was happening. All these doctors around me. And eventually they said, right, well, we'll leave you now and try to get some sleep. And the ward itself was dark, but the nurses were down the far end of the ward there, where there was Christmas lights and things there. But I was sat on my just laid in this bed, and I was thinking, my God, I've had a stroke. My father had strokes, so I know how difficult they are. I absolutely can't believe it. And I thought, this is the end of me. And then I was sat there, well, laid there in the dark, my eyes closed. And then I heard someone approach the bed. And this voice said to me, and it was a female voice, and it said, I'm going to touch you. Can you feel that? And I couldn't feel anything on my left side at all. It's all gone, you know. And I said, I thought it was a doctor, you know, or a nurse or something like that.
Yeah.
So I said, where are you touching me? She said, on your arm. And I said, no, I can't feel anything at all. Then she said, I'm going to touch you on the leg now. Said, can you feel anything? I said, no, I can't feel anything. Then she said, can you make your leg move at all? And I said, I'll try. And tiny bit of movement in my foot. And then she said, and I can't overemphasize this, she said, you will walk. I'll open my eyes, there was nobody there. Dullness of down the bottom of the ward. I expected to see this nurse there, a doctor, but it was how she said it. You will walk. It wasn't just it was statements rather than I think you'll walk. So it was so there.
Yeah.
And then I had that night, I went to hell. If you can imagine, because with all the drugs and everything, and I was taken into this place. I can't even describe what it was like, but I know that the dream, if it was a dream at all, it was so lifelike.
Yeah.
But I was in another world completely, and everybody was dead. People were walking around, but they were all dead. Everybody except me walking along this road. I'll tell you what it was looked like. The Day of the Dead that they have, you know, in these countries where everybody dresses up.
Yeah.
But they weren't dressed up like that. They really were all dead.
Yeah.
And they were walking towards me and walking past me. I was looking at the sky. The sky was black, and yet there was light shining out of it, but there's no sun.
Yeah.
And all I could think is somehow I'd gone to the other side, and this was like the other side of living, that I'd gone into the death side of it because I was so close to it. I remember walking along this. I don't want to be here. I should not be here. I'm not ready to do that. And then it went, and I was back in the hospital again. And from that moment on, I was getting all sorts of things coming from the other side, you know, but I can't actually say what was happening because I was so full of drugs.
Yeah.
That, you know, a lot of it could be doing that as well. But that one, I'm sure that person came, whoever it was, in spirit, and just said to me, "You will walk," and now I can walk as well. And the doctors said, "You'll never walk, Malcolm." They said, "You'll never be had such a bad stroke, you'll never walk."
Yeah.
But I did. I can do it. Yeah, take what you think of it. Amazing.
You know, you said something there that we had sight through the boards, like that there is light on the other side, but there's no sun.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm interested to know why you said hell.
Because it felt like hell.
Yeah.
It was like it wasn't hellish, but it wasn't. It was the exact opposites of us, And that thing with the sun was behind. The light was shining on everything, but the sky was black.
Yeah.
And it was wherever the sun, if there was sun, it was silver. It must be at the back of me, and but there's no, as I say, no blue in the sky. Nothing.
Yeah.
There are no colours, and all the houses were very old and very decrepit, and there were cars as well on these roads, but there were hearses and things. It was so crazy weird.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to say that.
You think perhaps you were shown this, and that was the time for you to make the choice to fight or not fight?
Yeah, because I didn't want to stay there, that for sure.
Yeah.
I've got to get out of this place. And I just remember just walking along with all these carbon derpers, people like skeletons.
Yeah.
It's just weird, the whole thing. And then, but I can tell you something very funny, just to lighten up a little bit. About 6 weeks later, when I was getting better, it's very slowly, but I'm still in bed. I couldn't walk at that time. And I was surrounded by all these curtains because you're on your own cubicle there. And there was an evening, and I heard this sound, and it sounded like a harp,
Ah.
and it was getting closer and closer. And then someone started singing as well. I thought,
Yeah.
what's going on here? And then this lady came round the corner, and she was dressed like an angel with this huge harp thing. And I thought, oh my God, that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
They've come for me. But she was a visitor. It was Christmas time.
Oh, right.
She come to, she dressed up in this fantastic thing. I thought, bloody hell, it's time to go. I thought, well, I don't want to go back to that place where I'd seen.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. But I've always been interested in the supernatural. I come from a psychic family. My mother was psychic. Both my aunts were psychic. One of them used to get people knocking on the walls in the night, and she'd come in when I was a kid, and she said to my mum, she said, "Oh, Doreen," she said, "someone's going to die in the street. They were knocking on the wall last night." And my mum got, "Oh no." And sure enough, someone died there. And my auntie, that one, she knew all sorts of things, about death and everything. She was always on about it.
Yeah.
My mother was a horror fanatic. So from being a child, a toddler, we had, the Scarlet Claw, the Quaster Mass, all these things. So I grew up with all that. And
Yeah.
the first day I went to school, nursery school, I remember they were sat as they said, "We're going to build a model of our village. Everybody can do something with it." So I started working on it. Said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm making a graveyard." Really. They said there's something wrong with this one. But I've always been so interested that on those nights when we got together, we did. I loved them, the investigations, and I've been into graveyards on my own at midnight and things like that, and sometimes you can get frightened, other times you don't worry about anything at all. Depends
Yeah.
what's going on in here really how you feel about it.
I think you're right. I mean, I've gone from the point of things they did unnerve me. I have been unnerved, whereas I don't actually think anything would phase me now after some of the experiences that I've had. And it'd have to be absolutely major to phase me. It'd have to pick me up and pin me to the ceiling or something like that, you know.
Yeah.
So, and it'd have to be strong to do that, Malcolm.
Yeah.
So Malcolm, when you used to come and investigate with us, you had all like the history knowledge and stuff of the area,
Yes.
and then you were already on a bit of a quest of your own about Templars and stuff. And so if we ever got anything like that, you were the one to turn to because you knew what to ask. Me and Si were like, we don't really know what to talk about with these.
Well, I mean, it's like the going back to the yellow hair.
Yeah. Bingley, for instance, where Simon said Spook Central, where the pubs are. Everywhere is haunted round there. But it was a very strong Knights Templar part round there. Even on the buildings, they've got the crosses on there to show that the land was Knights Templar land. The pub they went to, the White Horse, that was Templar, and they've got the crosses on there as well. So for me, it was an incredible experience to go there and go into the churchyard and find Templar graves.
The interesting thing for me with that, Malcolm, is the road goes through where the graveyard was.
Yeah.
So you go to the other side of the road and there's old Templar graves, and then right outside the church, a fairly modern Templar grave. When I say modern, I don't know just how modern, but probably Victorian or something like that. And you pointed it out as a Templar grave because it had the long sword on it. But you were like, where's the chalice? Where's the chalice? And one of the girls that we were with says, is that it, that bird bath there? And there were a huge bird bath that was the chalice. So, I mean, a real modern Templar grave from could have been even sort of late 18th, early 19th century in the Bingley Cemetery, which is, well,
only it's very easy to explain because in those days, I mean, all this has come back today through that book and everything. Everybody knows about the Templars, but in the Victorian times, it was a big thing. Everybody knew about the Templars and everything.
Yeah.
Big part of the history. And people, those descendants of them, they put them on their graves, the crosses and everything. So you can look at this and say, oh, this was a Templar family. Now, they're not the people that's buried there. They weren't Templars because they don't exist anymore in that way. But they came from their ancestors. They used the same things on them.
Yeah.
So you could go to a place like Bingley. You find the crosses on the houses, in the churches. I saw them all over the place, on the windows. And then you realise, they left behind them all these successive generations of people. They left behind them the pointers, markers to let you to do it. They've always been there. It's just that that Dan Brown sort of started off. And when you start looking around, you find these houses, you do find the crosses, you do find the graves, and you can find all sorts of things. Before you know it, you're on your own, Da Vinci Code sort of thing.
Yeah.
I find it fantastic.
Because there were sanctuary, weren't there? Templar houses were a sanctuary for Catholics. When obviously everything were outlawed, not that you couldn't be a Catholic, it were all Church of England. But they left the Templars alone, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
Because they were so powerful.
Yeah. And with the crosses and everything, that started at Queen Elizabeth the first time. She knew they were all around and she wasn't worried about them, but normal people were because it was a secret society and she didn't want that. So she said, look, okay, you must have on your building a cross, something like that, that shows you that you are part of this movement, whatever you want to call it, and that's fine. We just want to know. That's all. We won't. I won't bother you. She said that, you know, other countries it might be happening, but in my reign, I won't bother you, but I want to know who you are and where you are, just to make sure. Keep an eye on you. That's all. So you look at all these buildings that go back to about 500 years, and you go everywhere. And you say, "My God, there's one there. My God, look over here." And you know, it's amazing how much history there is still there.
The lanterns as well.
Yeah, lanterns as well. The same thing, lanterns. All these sort of things, they're all there. And you look around and you say, "My God, look at this." And there's another one there. And it's fascinating, absolutely fascinating. And people will say, "Oh, it's crazy, but I wrote a book about it all."
Yeah.
Well, at the end of it, it was a fantastic book. Everybody enjoyed it. It's sold out.
Yeah.
And I've not got, I don't think I've got any copies of it left. So I've got to work on all those again. It's all in here, but I've got to get it out somehow. You know, the brain has gone, it's had a huge bang, you know, like a sledgehammer.
Well, yeah. What's that book you've got there, Malcolm?
No, this is one.
I wonder if you could show that.
Yeah, I'm very interested in this one.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I think I'm going to really enjoy reading this one. You know.
Yeah.
It's called Into the Darkness, Becoming a Ghost Hunter, and it's by a fella called Chris Whitehouse.
Yeah.
Good
He's
man.
that same.
I'm really chuffed with you doing this. It's fantastic to have another author. You've got to get going now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I might
help you.
write some Happy Cat and Dolly ones.
Yeah. Happy Cat and Dolly, they're over there.
You remember you let me write the foreword in one of your books.
You did, yes.
You know, and that was a really big deal, you know, because I'd seen you coming into our print place, and I knew your name and as a ghost hunter, and I didn't talk to you, even though you were just a regular guy. You know, to me, you were like, "Oh my God, he actually is in the field that I want to be in," and therefore I couldn't even approach you for ages. So it wasn't until I think Sky introduced me.
It was fantastic what you wrote in the beginning, you know, the forward to the book. And
Yeah.
I thought, that's a good writer there.
Yeah.
I was thinking you would want royalties for it. Well, I'm a Yorkshireman, you know, we don't do that.
Yeah. But yeah, your books they are almost interactive, because they have the writing takes you on a ghost walk around the town and has the pictures, so you can literally follow step by step and look out for the, you know, you're in your head going, well, if you look up, you'll see on that chimney there's this.
True.
So for generations you can have your walk, you know, even by just reading.
I mean, when I read she was speaking, but when I read your books, your voice so that's, you know.
Well, it's funny because a lot of the write-ups that appeared in the papers, they said the same thing. There's a really good author, and unfortunately it's gone out of my head now, but he's a very famous one, and he wrote a piece on my first book. He said you don't read it. He said you walk with the guy. He said it's like going into a pub with him. And he's telling you all about it, and he just spent a pint with him. And he said it's a fantastic way of writing. You know, it's informal, but it's everything's there as well. So, and that's what I'm going to do with this new one, Strange But True.
Yeah. So why have you never done Haworth?
I had it on my list, believe me, and because I was doing regular walks around Haworth for tourists and things like that, so I'm getting all that facts together, lots of things there, and I thought, there'll definitely be a book, you know, in some time, because we went to Haworth and we did things there, and I felt a lot of things in some of the pubs that we went to. But at the moment, until I get back to doing Haworth again, which I will do in time, it'll be a couple of years before I can really start getting going again. So this one for Skipton is going to really a big thing for me to do that, and that will really set me going to do other ones as well.
Because it's on your doorstep as well.
Yeah, it's on my doorstep, and people always, if I'm on the street, they say hello to me if I'm hobbling around at the moment, and loads of people are following me, on Facebook now.
Yeah.
So they're all waiting for this book to be written and come out, and they're all waiting to go on the ghost walks and all those sorts of things, strange but true walks. So I've got the audience for both already. So when it all happens, it'd be, for me, there's nothing to, I don't need to put posters down, like the old days and everything. I'll just put it on there, right, we're doing it, books come out, and hey ho.
That's it, social media for you these days.
Yeah. And so, Malcolm, have you ever had anything to do with UFOs?
Yeah, I've always been interested. The justice, the court is out about it. The jury. I've seen things in the sky when I was young, and you can't explain them. But I'm not that. I watch them, but it's about for me the supernatural is more than the UFOs things. I watch Asian aliens and things like that on TV.
Yeah.
And I find them interesting, but it's not my sort of
Not your wheelhouse.
No, for me it's right in the weird stuff, the real, like Simon here.
Yeah.
The weird stuff.
So have you seen ghosts as a child or anything?
Yeah, I did, because the first I remember having a very strange dream when I was about 3 years old, something like that. I was being followed around by a sock, believe it, and just playing around. And then every so often I'd have these strange dreams. And then, as I say, when I went to school, my first day at school, I did this graveyard thing. And also they said, right, the next thing we're going to do, they was testing us, I guess. We'd only be 5 years old, if that. And they said, here's a sheet of paper. I want you to draw something that you see. So everybody doing it had this sort of balloon thing. And they said, what's that? I said, it's a ghost. And they said, what do you mean a ghost? I said, well, this is it's a bit like that film where the kid says, I see them all the time.
Yeah.
Well, I was seeing things like that. But then again, I was influenced by my mother, because she could see things. Her father came to see her, and he went to see, just after he died, he came back to see my other brother, Terry. He'd just been born just after her father had died. And she said he came back, and he said, I've just come to see Terry. So I grew up with those stories. And again, my auntie would tell me about the knockings and things like that. So I was, right from the word go, I was in that atmosphere. And so I grew up, in a way, I grew up with ghosts and weird things. And that really got me going. And then when I was about 18, something like that, one day I was in Northampton. I was living there at that time. This lady came up to me and she said, oh my God, she said, you've got an aura about you. I said, what do you mean? She said, well, she says, I'm a medium. And she turned out to be one of the best mediums in the country. I didn't know at that time. She said, would you have coffee with me? And I said, yeah. And she's telling me all about my life. I've never seen her before. And she said, you've got it. She said, you've got the knowledge. It's inside you. So you will be a medium if you want to. She said, but you'll always be followed by the supernatural. You'll always be interested in it. And she said, if you let yourself go, you'll see everything. Like she could see everything. She was followed by ghosts and children after it. I said, well, I don't really want to do that.
Yeah.
I'm interested in all, but I don't want things coming pushing me around or getting too. So yeah, I've always seen things, and but the best one, as I say, was the night when I was in hospital. That was the strongest thing I've ever felt.
Yeah.
And that came true. I do walk.
Yeah.
That's astonished all the doctors. So yeah, that's why I love going on the investigations and going into houses on my own. And Malta, I used to go into the haunted houses there. There was plenty on Malta, huge abandoned houses. You just walk into them, and the gates would be open, and you could lose yourself in these fantastic houses. And imagine what you could be, like haunted houses. I'd go there at 1 o'clock in the morning and just sit there, and nothing happened, but you could feel it almost. Amazing, really.
So how do you get the ghost stories from Malta then? Do you knock on doors, or was that not what your Malta book was like?
No, what I did was there was already ghost books on Malta, just a couple, but one fellow had done a really good one. So I was looking at that, and other people was telling me, because as I met people there, they said, "Oh, what do you do back home?" I said, "Well, I'm a ghost hunter. I do this, I write books." They were absolutely fascinated. Everybody's got a story.
Yeah.
So I said, "Right, tell me a story, and then I'll see what I can do." And then I came up with the idea of doing a ghost walk, the first one ever. And it started off what they call dark tourism on Malta. And now there's loads of people doing it. But I came up with the idea of getting the classic ghost stories that have been handed down for generations, and actually taking people on these walks to these places and put them into these situations as well. Very frightening. There's one particular one that I remembered. The story begins at the gates of Valletta, where the bus station is now. And in that story, these two naval officers were met by this lady. She was a Maltese, very strangely dressed, and she asked them to accompany with her to this house. This house was about a quarter of a mile away. So she took them through the back streets, down this road, and to this big house. And what happened was she said she could not get into the house. She'd been locked out. So one of them shin up her drain pipe, and they let her in, and they went in, had a drink, and then went home. But when they came next day, the house was just an old ruin. So what they've been into was like a time slip or something. This girl, who this lady was. Well, instead of me just taking people to show that house, no, I started out where the story says, "I'm going to take you in the footsteps of a ghost now." And people love that. They loved it because I told the story as it went on. And then at the end, I would challenge someone to actually go to the house where it was and look through the not the keyhole, the letterbox. You could see inside. It was all dark. I used to do all sorts of tricks. One night, I got this young girl, took everybody down to this house, told the story about this house, and I said, "Right, I need a volunteer." So this girl said, "I'll do it." I said, "Right, what I want you to do is stand alone at the doorway and look in the letterbox. You'll see the darkness, and you have to stay that light. Don't look at me. Don't look behind you. Just keep there, and just keep until I tell you to stop." And I said, "It's going to be a couple of minutes." She said, "Okay." While she's doing that, I said to everybody, "Right, everybody go back up the street and disappear." So the street, when she looks round, there's nobody there. You can imagine she's on a dark street in the back street of Malta, haunted house. So look in this keyhole. He said, "Can I look yet? Can I look yet?"
Yeah.
Because she looks around, there's nobody there.
Yeah.
She's on her own. She was screaming out. Everybody thought it was fantastic.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did that sort of thing. So it was hilarious.
Yeah.
But that state, it set off everybody else because they realised that there was money to be made on
Yeah.
Malta. If there's money to be made, you don't have a copyright on anything, books or anything. So all my books there, all those works that I created, they belong to everybody else now. They're doing it all the time. Every night there's people doing my walks, and I don't get any penny for it. So
Yeah.
In a way, it's good though, isn't it?
Oh yeah,
it's like it's a tribute. It's
yeah. My books will be on sale still there. I don't know what's happening to where the profits going, but somebody is milking them up. I've been doing new editions of it, new versions. But as you say, as Simon says, I don't mind really because it's nice to know that on Malta I am a bit of a, as you say,
you're a famous guy.
yeah, bit fame on there, you know, a legend. So one day I'll go back there again once I've got out of all this thing and I can go back, take Happy and Cat and Dolly and everybody, and you know, you might have to explain what about Happy and Cat and Dolly. Yeah, I used to teach in schools all history and all sorts, but the schools always wanted me to teach the weird stuff as well. So I had these guys. This is Mr. Happy Cat, and this is Dolly. They're married now, and the kids love them. I used to get badges made for them, and the kids, if they did really well in the exams or tests, what we did, they got free Happy Cat badges, and there was a club that you could all join and everything. So I took them every time I went to Malta. The kids would say, "You're going to take Happy Cat and Dolly on the adventure." So I'd do that, and I'd write an adventure as well. But one day, I was on the plane to Malta, and I had Happy Cat and Dolly on the seat next to me, and blow me down. That they came round with the magazines, the Malta ones, and there was a piece on me, a double praise spread. This is the first guy to do Ghost Walks. He's coming soon. There's a picture of Happy Cat and Dolly as well. And I remember this lady was ringing. She went like that to a friend, and they're all looking at it. I said, "It is. It's Happy Cat and Dolly, you know." I said, "Oh, bloody hell!" Yeah,
that's cool.
Autograph.
Yeah. Have you always written then?
Pardon?
Were you always a writer from a young lad?
Writing, yeah. At school, I was very strong in the English, and I wrote my first book. It was about 100 pages long. Was about 12 years old, and that really got people talking about me. The English teacher, it was a good teacher, and he was I got really inspired by him. And he said, "I want everybody to write a book. Have a go at it." Well, all he wanted was a couple of pages. A week later, I presented him with the book, 100 pages long. He said, "What's this?" I said, "Well, he asked me to write, so I wrote a story for you." He said about if I could do a book, so I've done it. Here bloody hell, you know.
Yeah.
So I've always been at that, you know. And anything like that, music, writing, poetry, you know, all these sort of things. I've always been wanted to do things, a creative mind, and that's what's making me get out of this stroke. You know, because my brain is still working on everything, and will not give me a moment's peace. You know, if there's something I can do, it won't me to do it, so I've got to do it. So there we are. Yeah, it's either that or drinking. You know.
That's it. So, Si, what do you remember about us investigating with Malcolm around? I remember doing Howard and stuff.
It was just great because you know, he always had a story. There were always, you know, there were never a dull moment, so to speak. Well, you know, it were, and if it, you do go on some investigations and times when it goes flat and things like that. And when Malcolm's there, it never really, you know, we were always there to, let's try this, let's do that, I'll tell the story in between or whatever. And it would just, you know, it made the night, you know, we were always a great guy to have a look. What I also liked about Malcolm is, as well, like you said, oh, well, this guy has been in the field way before me, it's what I wanted to do, and all this, that, and the other. However, Malcolm always sits, listens to what's going on, and he's always willing to learn from others, regardless of how much experience they have. He's been very gracious to us, you know, with some of the stuff that we've done and some of the equipment that we use and things like that, and gets on board with our ideas as well.
Yeah.
You know, for somebody who's got that much experience, to not poo-poo these new kids on the block, so to speak, is I think was always a good thing as well. And I really enjoyed, you know, that it were always good. I think this is why I wanted to get together tonight, because it's nice that Malcolm's on the road to recovery.
Yeah.
Nice that he's working on some new stuff, and it'd be good for him to be able to have this on your YouTube channel that he can link from his social media.
Yeah.
So that people look at it and can go and have a look. But yeah, that's the key for me.
Do you remember the Paranormal Conference, the Keighley Festival we did?
Brilliant.
I do remember, yeah.
Yeah.
We had Jenny Bryant there as well.
Yeah. Jenny with a medium Paula.
Yeah, we did, yeah.
Yeah.
That was quite interesting, that.
I mean, it was just a little achievement that we actually pulled that off and people came.
Yeah, they did come. They were quite busy.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. That was Keighley Festival.
Yeah, it was.
You used to be Mr. Keighley Festival as well, you say, didn't you?
Yeah. So when is this Strange But True out?
Strange But True.
It's going to be called, the book is going to be called Strange But True, but it'll have a subtitle, you know, the weird history of Skipton, or the unique history of Skipton, or, you know, something quirky, you know, like that. And I'm working on it now, you know, we've got things to work out on the computer. I need to get some office stuff.
Yeah, he needs to get Microsoft Office.
Yeah, I need to get that on. And then I could, you see, I could remember all that before I had a stroke, but the stroke took away all that. So I've now idea with technology how to set things up. Once it's set up, I can write. And writing is fine. There's no problem at all. It's not affected that.
Yeah.
So as soon as we can get things set up, I'm putting regularly now on my Facebook page stories from that book as I'm writing them. It's in little sections. So I'm writing the book now, and it'll take me probably about 3 months to do the whole thing. Once we get everything set up, and then I get it published, you know, private thing, a print run, which you know, it took 2,000 copies, something like that. You might be able to help me with that, you know. And so that'll be the first edition, and see how that goes. If it sells very well, I'll do another print on and just go on with it, and then I'll start on the other ones and see what we want to do. So there's plenty of things for me to do after Christmas. Once we get the winter out of the way, bad weather, I'll be there, you know, so it'll be great.
Great. Well, I look forward to your new work and hopefully a speedy recovery.
Thank you.
And Si, Malcolm, I thank you both for doing this video. And
good. Thank you.
Our pleasure.
Thank you for giving Malcolm the opportunity on your
Yeah, thank you.
No worries.
Thank you, Chris.
Take care, my friend. See you later.
Yeah.